soon. If Tshwane has plans to lease out the Rooiwal and this Pretoria West power stations succeeds, then these two power stations could ultimately be in the hands of the private sector as early as next month.
We want
it. Of the municipality, Pretoria Showground. We got a tip off that this building of the municipality is being vandalized and is not being taken care of. The infrastructure is collapsing.
In the city of Tshwane, a trail of neglected public assets and broken services tells a story of betrayal, where the ANC government, guided by white consultants, has allowed state-owned infrastructure to crumble, paving the way for privatization that benefits a select few. On Friday, August 8, 2025, I discovered an abandoned municipal building in Tshwane, once a vital hub for emergency services like ambulances and fire engines, now left to rot. The next day, Women's Day, August 9th, 2025, I joined the vibrant Nina Park Wimpy Fun Run, a well-organized community event with traffic officers, ambulances, and activities for kids and adults. The emergency services were there only till the end of the race. The joy of the day was shattered when a woman, helping to dismantle tents and jumping castles, was injured as an object fell on her foot. When organizers called for an ambulance, they were quoted an upfront cost of 3,500 rands, a price far beyond the reach of the average South African, revealing the stark reality of privatized emergency services. This pattern of neglect extends beyond the emergency services building to other key Tshwane assets, the Pretoria Showgrounds, Pretoria West Power Station, and Rooiwal Power Station. The Showgrounds, also known as the Tshwane Event Center, once a bustling venue for community and cultural events, has been left in disrepair. The city has approved plans to lease it for a 1.5 billion redevelopment into a mixed-use commercial precinct with a hotel, conference facility, and residential spaces, previously leased to a church for up to 1 million rands a month. Similarly, the Pretoria West and Rooiwal Power Stations, built in 1952 and between 1962 to 1970 respectively, are mothballed or operating far below capacity due to underinvestment. The city spends $300 million annually on their maintenance and security, yet plans to lease them for 40 years to independent power producers, with Pretoria West potentially being converted to a waste-to-energy plant. These leases, approved after public participation in January 2024, are framed as steps toward energy independence. But critics argue they risk handing valuable assets to private entities at a fraction of their worth. These stories are connected by a troubling trend: the deliberate neglect of public assets to justify their privatization. Under apartheid, state-operated ambulances were affordable, with costs included in monthly city council bills, ensuring access for all. Today, the ANC has overseen the privatization of emergency services, allegedly to secure BBBEE shares for connected elites, leaving ordinary citizens to face exorbitant costs like the 3,500 rands quoted at the fun run. White consultants advising the ANC on BBBEE policies play a role in orchestrating this decay to benefit private interests. For instance, the City Hall, another Tshwane landmark, has been neglected for nearly a decade, with her $63 million wasted on botched renovations, and proposals to lease it to the Iranian government for a cultural complex have sparked outrage. The Pretoria Showgrounds, Pretoria West, and Rooiwal Power Stations follow a similar path, with the city citing financial constraints to justify long-term leases to private entities. This narrative of neglect and privatization reflects a deeper betrayal. The ANC, once a champion of the people, appears to have sold out, allowing public assets to deteriorate under the guise of fiscal necessity, only to transfer them to private hands, potentially at undervalued prices. The consultants guiding BBBEE policy are complicit in structuring deals that favor elites over the public, as seen in the shift from affordable state-run ambulances to costly private services. The Fun Run incident underscores the human cost. A community event meant to celebrate unity was marred by a system that demands payment before aid, while abandoned buildings like the Emergency Services Hub and the Showgrounds stand as monuments to mismanagement. The power stations, costing millions to maintain, yet producing little to no energy, further illustrate how public wealth is squandered, only to be handed over to private producers. The vibrancy of the Women's Day fun run with it was spoilt by the stark reality of unaffordable ambulances. They're working on water and electricity. Stay woke.
There's a standard way of privatizing something. Like when Margaret Thatcher wanted to privatize the British railroads, the technique was defund them. And then when they don't work, people get angry. They say, let's do something. So you hand it over to private enterprise, which totally ruins them, and then the state has to come back in, big cost, and try to reconstruct it somehow. It's known as privatization.
The Rooiwal Power Station, operating on minimum capacity for over a decade. Tshwane spends millions annually on security and staff, but residents don't benefit much. The Pretoria West Power Station suffered the same reality, despite the need for additional power supply in the country's capital city. But this might change soon. If Tshwane plans to lease out the Rooiwal and this Pretoria West power station succeeds, then these two power stations could ultimately be in the hands of the private sector as early as next month.
We want it this end of July. If everything goes well according to plan, we want to hand those by July. So the budget has been passed for an allocation of 50 million rands to the energy task team to have a transactional advisor that will be advising us on how to go about on these two power stations.
But not everyone is satisfied with the upcoming public-private partnership.
Who does it benefit? Who are the investors? When you look at it holistically, it does have a benefit. But when it comes with Tshwane, DA-led coalition, it's problematic because they just impose and implement things without consulting us. So it's disappointing to hear that it's even going to be implemented. So who's going to benefit? Who's the investor? That's a problem.
While the city has embarked on public consultations, others claim that they were left out.
Brink is not telling us about anything that they are doing in our Tshwane residents, as the residents of Tshwane. They never talk to us about anything.
How can they go ahead with such things, not telling the community? At the end of the day, it's us, community, who are going to suffer. And then they keep on doing things on their own. Now they are going to lease those two power stations. And then at the end, we are going to pay for that, and then we are going to end up sitting on the dark.
But other residents say this plan might help to create jobs and save them money, especially those who are in business.
It will be good to generate more electricity, and that's what we need.
If this power station might work, it might solve everything. Even the money and the bills might be less.
A fire broke out at the Pretoria West Power Station last week on Friday, which might further reduce its value. The old infrastructure at both power stations is another factor that investors might have to deal with. But Tshwane says the benefits are far-reaching.
If you have over-reliance on Eskom with having 50%, if we're on load shedding stage 2, we won't have load shedding. We can be able to proceed on a day-to-day. The security also becomes a problem, where the streets are dark, and you have where now cable theft occurs, vandalism of our infrastructure.
With sky-high electricity costs in the country that's already crippling the working class, especially the poorest of the poor, some fear that if substations like this one here is under the control of the private sector, they might find themselves more exploited financially, especially if electricity pricing is not well regulated. Patricia Fasache, SABC News in Pretoria West.
We are at the Pretoria Showgrounds in the city of Tshwane. Just for a little bit of context, this is a place which was home to the Church of Prophet Shepherd Bushiri, the Enlightened Christian Gathering Church, before he fled the country in November 2020. This hall right here was also used by UNISA students to write exams for many, many years, and this place was also used by the IEC during elections since the dawn of democracy. In fact, the last time this venue was used by the IEC was in 2021 during the local government elections. In less than 2 years, this property, but 39 hectares has fallen into disrepair. The windows have been left shattered, the grass, the weeds have been left uncut, and if you just look at the building, it's, clearly the infrastructure is on the brink of collapse. The main concern here that was raised by the EFF chairperson Ubakeng Ramabodu is that he fears that this place might not be ready to house next year's elections, the 2024 general elections. He's also saying that there was a motion last year actually to turn this place into a multi-event area, a conference place called the Tshwane Conference Events Center, and still that hasn't happened till today. In fact, Obakeng Ramabodu, the chairperson of the EFF in Tshwane, is saying that the DA-led government has failed to get investors to invest in this property and return it to its former glory.
We are here as the caucus of the EFF in Tshwane to do an oversight in this premises of the municipality, Pretoria Showground. We got a tip off that this building of the municipality is being vandalized and is not being taken care of. The infrastructure is collapsing and there's no proper security, proper water, sanitation and electricity. So it's part of our responsibility as an opposition here in the city to make sure that we hold the executive accountable.
The EFF in Tshwane has also raised concerns over the poor security here at the Pretoria Showgrounds. In fact, upon arrival, we did see that a private security company was contracted to guard the property, but seemingly they were not doing a good job. Just outside the property, there's rubble, debris, and garbage that has been thrown by nearby communities here, despite the security that is here. The EFF is also calling for the city of Tshwane to insource its own security guards to come and safeguard this place. The party is saying that they could use this property to generate revenue. As you know, that the city of Tshwane is currently facing very serious financial issue, and they're even unable to pay some of their municipal workers. Now, we did try to get a comment from the city of Tshwane's MMC for corporate shared services, but unfortunately, we couldn't get a response at the time that we made the call. For Eyewitness News, my name is Alpha.
Right. Thank you for that, Veronica. In fact, Veronica is talking about the Democratic Alliance position to oppose the possible sale or lease of the Pretoria City Hall to the Iranian embassy. They want to build restaurants there. They want a museum, I think a library in the hall. And their argument is that that would generate economic opportunity for the city. But the DA says, hey, don't even think about it because that's going to complicate our relationship with the US. Well, Celia Brink is the DA leader in Tshwane. Celia, how are you?
Good, and you, Kevin?
I'm good. Why are you against this position? I mean, the city of Tshwane is still considering. They haven't made a decision yet. But why do you think this would be a bad move?
So the Iranian embassy writes to the MMC for Corporate and Shared Services, the politician who has oversight over municipal properties. And what they ask is for the city to contribute a building for a cultural center. Now that may or may not be a reasonable request, a segue into having a conversation. But the first place where the MMC then takes the representatives of the Iranian embassy is the City Hall, which is, if anything, a symbol of the sovereignty of the city government and of the country. And why would you conceivably want to donate or in any other way alienate your city hall to the embassy of another country?
Mm-hmm.
There is an additional problem to this, and that is that the relationship between South Africa and the United States is obviously very complicated. Tomorrow, unless something else happens, we are going to have very high tariffs that are going to affect South African jobs and businesses, including in this city, where we manufacture BMW X3s for export into American markets. And thousands of people who live in Harankua and Shoshanguve and Pretoria North, in fact, make their livelihoods because of that investment. What has complicated our relationship with the United States, in part, there are many things, it's not a simple matter, is the close proximity between the ANC and the government of Iran. And I think as a symbol, so the principle of not giving away your city hall to a foreign government stands on its own 2 feet. But what makes it worse is at this critical time for the country, that is the kind of message we send out to the world. And I don't think that is good for the people of Tshwane.
How long has this hall been vacant for?
Oh, it's been vacant for a long time.
So what, a decade?
It's been more than a decade.
So then why are we then not exploring the opportunities that would bring about economic value for the city? So whether it was the US, whether it was, Zambia, the Zambian embassy that said, let us come in here and use this for the economic benefit of the city and the people of the city. Why is that not cool?
I am sure, Clement, if you embark upon an open process where you request proposals, that you are going to get a proposal from a South African partner, be it a different sphere of government that we can take hands with, or a South African developer, or a non-profit entity who is willing to make a contribution to repair the damages that were done to that city hall by irregular contract for renovations. I am sure that can be done, and that must be explored. But this is not what happened there. We got a letter as the city from Iran, from the embassy, who said, contribute a parcel of a building. That is what their letter said. Not, we want to buy, we want to rent a property, please explore the possibility. And then they were taken straight to City Hall. So I absolutely agree we need partnerships to revive these historical places, but this is not it. And I think it would send a terrible message if the City Council were to consider it.
All right, Celia Brink, DA leader in Tshwane, thank you so much for coming through. He's, in fact, the former mayor of Tshwane. What do you think? Where do you stand here? Do you think the Tshwane administration should allow for the Iranian embassy to come through and build their restaurants, a museum there to generate economic opportunity for the city? Or as Celia Brink says, no, rather give that opportunity to other people. I'm sure there are other businesses out there that have got capital that are willing to do this. Where do you stand on this one? I don't want to focus much on even the relationship with the US because I feel like there's nothing you can do that will satisfy them. You could be saying hi to an Iranian ambassador as a minister of international relations in South Africa, and the US may think, how dare you say hi to them? And yet they are allowed to say hi to them. They are allowed to have negotiations with them, but you just can't. The same way they tell you, don't talk to Russia. Why are you friends with China? But they can sit and have a conversation with them. It's a little weird, I think. It's 5 minutes before 10.
That's a wrap, folks. But before you go, keep this in mind. Their smoke and mirrors are just theatrics, pulling your focus from what truly matters. The real fight? It's always been about the land and the economy. Stay sharp, stay woke, and we'll catch you next time.
The most important person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs.